Hello, my name is Joe Horath. I'm the director of the Institute for Policy and Civic Engagement at the University of Illinois, Chicago. And I'm going to talk today about the definition of civic engagement. What is civic engagement? But before I get started, I wanted to say that my comments today are in a pretty basic form. They're also available on the Institute's website in a longer form. That's www.ipce.uic.edu. Definitions of the term civic engagement vary greatly, certainly in academic literature and around other organizations and across the internet. I think it's really important for people to avoid a narrow debate about the meaning and about the details of its meaning. Rather, we should have a broad definition of civic engagement that provides a foundation on which everyone can understand the definition, but also allows people to add specific meanings that are more useful to them. So, for my institute, we use a very broad definition that, as I mentioned, has some specific elements to it that guide our activities. We frame civic engagement as a means to an end. So for us, the definition is civic engagement is any activity that contributes to a more effective democracy. What's crucial, though, is what we mean by a more effective democracy. So we have three pillars of this more effective democracy that are central to our notion of civic engagement. The first pillar is a democracy in which individuals have a basic understanding about how the government works and have access to information about important policy issues that affect their lives. Civic engagement should contribute to creating a democracy with fully informed citizens. For example, do we have people seeking out ways to learn more about policy issues? Do they even have educational resources available to them that might help them learn more about policy issues? These are important questions in a healthy democracy. Our second pillar is a healthy democracy should have a healthy two-way flow of information between citizens and local leaders and government. Are these important parts of our democracy listening to each other? Are there vehicles for citizens to communicate directly with their elected officials? Do our government officials have vehicles for input into the decisions they make? Or do they provide opportunities for citizens to express themselves? These are all part of good civic engagement. And finally, our third pillar is that people in a healthy democracy should be able to take full advantage of the tools and technologies available to create a more effective and responsive government, a government that supports inclusive public discourse on public policy issues. It's not just that the government has ways to listen to citizens, it's also how they incorporate that into their decision-making process. Or are they even incorporating it into those processes at all? This is a very important part of a healthy democracy and our third pillar in our definition of civic engagement. In addition to our three pillars, it is important to note that civic engagement can also take on different meanings depending on who is the one being engaged with, who is doing the conducting activity. For example, at the individual level, you have individualistic activism. So someone can vote, they can make a public statement through bumper stickers, they can start their own campaign as an individual, just posting things on websites or writing letters to their elected officials. At the group level, individuals can gather and can take collective actions such as public demonstrations or discussions or participating in political meetings. Institutions can also take on these sorts of actions that are of interest to them as well. Universities, corporations, interest groups, and nonprofit organizations can also be agents of civic engagement by taking public positions on different policy issues, or both lobbying on behalf of the interests of their constituents, or by providing support to those two existing advocacy efforts. Regardless of who is doing the engaging or what they are doing, central to our interpretation of civic engagement is a notion borrowed from Peter Levine's 2007 book, The Future of Democracy, where he argues that true civic engagement involves an actor who is paying, and I quote, appropriate attention to the consequences of his or her behavior for the underlying political system. Well, what does this mean? It speaks to understanding and intent. If you are participating in a protest, for example, do you understand the issue you're advocating for? What is your understanding of that issue? Secondly, do you understand how protesting helps bring about change? That's an important part of civic engagement and of Levine's notion that you can't have true civic engagement unless people have really true understanding of these things, which is why education is fundamental to our notion of civic engagement. So, I hope this has helped provide a foundation for you for an understanding of civic engagement, and I hope it's one that you can add to and build on in ways more specific to the interests of you and your community.